What are you doing?
For insurance reasons, I'm documenting things.
Are they here?
No.
I want you to be out there looking for them.
I know I was, and then I thought, well, let me...
Are you kidding me?
Contractor fraud is one of the hardest things to navigate in real estate. It is something that can make you lose tens of thousands of dollars, or a good contractor would be one of the best things you could ever find. And I'm going to help you navigate this in this video. I've got tons of real estate experience, everything from buying, selling, flipping, fixing, wholesaling, to being a real estate agent here on the Gulf Coast, doing a lot of transactions. I'm going to tell you as fast as possible a set of guidelines to understand how to handle contractors working on your house. So let's get right to it. When you're going down the contractor rabbit hole, probably one of the easiest ways to do this is start asking some of your friends that have had somebody work for them. Or find a good real estate agent and say, hey, could I pretty please use your vendors list? And just say, who do you use on these things? Maybe it's a real estate agent you've used in the future or a real estate agent you're using now. Usually they have a bunch of people they've kind of vetted because they've been through this process quite a bit. What you want to do is make sure that you're going to interview at least 3, 4, or 5, whatever, a few, at least 2 or 3, okay? And let them know that you're taking bids and you're looking for the best price, because one of the worst things you could ever do is tell a contractor they're the only one. And love you contractor guys out there, but you're going to hate me in this video because I'm going to try to give a guideline for some people. And if you don't agree with me, comment down below and tell me why. Because we all are learning here, and that's how you learn, from the comment section. Really, by the time they get there, you should already know if they're licensed or insured. Hopefully it's on their website or their Facebook page, and you've done a little bit of research on who you're calling. Do they have a working phone number? Do they answer the phone? Are they nice on the phone? Do they have any reviews? And you also want to have done some research a tiny bit on what you're asking them to do. Like, how much does an air conditioner usually cost? Okay, you can go on Google and you can say, how much is a Goodman 3.5 ton air conditioning unit cost? And you have a guideline of probably what it's going to cost for parts, you know, minus or plus a few things. They're probably going to, let's say, double it, and that's probably what it's going to cost. HVAC guys are really expensive. Depends on if it's a hot attic, depends on how far they got to travel. A lot of things got to go into it, but you're getting in the ballpark. I will say this, don't waste contractors' time. There's nothing worse for a contractor to drive all the way out there knowing he's not going to get the job, and you wasted his time. But beware of the one that'll just quote you a crazy number, insult your intelligence, just to price himself out of the job. And if he gets it, he's like, whoa, I won the lottery. But I've seen a few contractors do that, and you're just like, man, like, I know what it costs for this job, and you just insulted my intelligence by a price that was way out of this league. If the job requires a permit, ask for their license number. If it's an electrical permit, make sure they're an electrician with a licensed electrician number, master electrician, however your state does it. Make sure they can give you that information. They're licensed and insured. Because there's no worse thing than an unlicensed, uninsured person catch your house on fire. Okay? Like, they install a bathroom switch, or there's a lot of dust in the outlet, bad boy catches fire. No joke, an agent the other day turned on a heater in a bathroom because the light and the heater are in the same switch, and it caught fire, burned the whole bathroom down. You know, lots of problems. People could have got hurt. Same way with building structures. Let's say it's a framing thing that needs to be done, like building a back porch or a staircase. They're not a licensed general contractor or somebody that works with framing, and they didn't build it to code. It wasn't permitted. The thing collapses, and you're on the hook for that person getting hurt on your property. And since it was probably not permitted and done right, the insurance company is probably going to reject your claim. So that's going to leave you on the hook. Not a lawyer. I'm just saying it happens. Remember, as a homeowner, the permit process is designed to protect you, the homeowner, from a contractor that's going to take advantage of you. Somebody that is supposed to do a job by code, and that third-party inspection is there to make sure they did it by code, and to make sure you, the homeowner, the layperson, the person that probably doesn't know how to wire a junction box or wire a outlet or wire a panel box or how to install an HVAC, can be protected by the county coming out and saying, hey, you did this wrong or you did this right, and then having the ability to enforce that problem or that idea onto the contractor. And that's what the contractor board's for. That's what things like DBPR in the state of Florida is, that holds their license and holds them accountable. And it's a good and bad thing. Yeah, it can be a long and lengthy process, but it also can make sure you don't get taken advantage of. And those contractors that have licenses are held to a standard. Those that don't aren't. And it's really hard to sue them. So that's why I like having third-party inspection, if you don't know what you're looking at, by the county, and that's usually the law or the regulation in most areas, or by having a home inspector come behind them. And most contractors hate this. That you put a roof on, have a home inspector come in and do a inspection of the roof. And sometimes it only costs you $100 or so, $150. They'll come in and say if the roof is on or not. Because when you go to sell that house, that same home inspector is probably the one coming out to give you your roof certification or your 4-point or your home inspection. And he's going to be one saying, well, that roof is wrong or right. There's always going to be conflict between roofers and home inspectors. Roofers are licensed and they do roofs all the time, and home inspectors is the one to point out that says, I agree or disagree, but they're not a roofer. So you're going to get conflict in that. But just remember, you can have an extra inspection come out behind it. And when my mom was doing her house, I really thought about just sending out my home inspector out there, get on the roof, make sure it's good and done right before I pay them. That's always a good idea. You know, especially if you are a person and you've got a family member across the country and she's worried about a roof or an HVAC being installed, call a home inspector, pay him his $200, let him go out there and say, yes, it was right, or no, it wasn't. And on a job that costs $9, $10, $15, $20,000, well, that might be the right answer. What I'm saying is you just want them to have a little competition. So don't tell them they're the only one, or you're going to get a price that's probably going to stagger you. But hopefully they're honest and straightforward, and they're not wanting to cheat you, and you're okay with that, they're okay with it, and you get it done. Sometimes speed is the thing. Can you be here now? Do it now, because I got to close tomorrow. What would it cost? And they tell you. If you don't have time to get 2 or 3 estimates, is something you can do right now, like a service call. You know what I mean? One thing you want to do when you talk prices is be very straightforward, detailed, okay? Never say, I would like a rough estimate, or about how much would that cost. Don't do it. Don't do it. You want to be straightforward and detailed in every exact amount. Like if you were doing a deal with Jack Motley here, I'd say, hey, I need a porch built, okay? I want it to be right here. I want it to be this big. Have them measure it. I want it to be built with this type of wood. Number 2 pine. I want it to be stained, painted, however that may be. I want it done. When can you get it done? I can get it done in 3 weeks. I want it done in 3 weeks. I want a date of completion to be this. And I'm going to ask them, how many people are going to be coming and going on this job site? Are you going to have one crew, or is 2 or 3 guys, 4 guys? Are those guys licensed? Or are you subcontracting this out to somebody else, and are they licensed and insured? I want to know they're going to be completed at this time, and what is going to happen if they don't complete it at that time? Am I going to get it 20% less, or are you going to comp me in some way? Because I hired you to do a job that will take X amount of time. You said you could accomplish it. I need it done then. Because if you don't, here's what's going to wind up happening. I'm not saying all contractors will do this. This is what happens. They've got 2 or 3 other jobs going the same time yours is going. And they take those guys and they rotate them to their biggest money producer as they're doing work throughout the day. So your guy might show up in the morning, work for 2 hours. Could have completed the thing in a day, but he's off working on a door frame somewhere else. And then by that afternoon, he's working somewhere else. And then the next morning he comes back and he works for 2 more hours. And then he's working somewhere else. And that contractor, you know, the head boss man, is circling their guys throughout the field to which one is going to produce them the most. And if you're the nice person saying, oh, you know, get to it whenever, I'm not in any hurry. They're not going to be in any hurry to get it done. Meanwhile, you're sitting there with a half-finished, whatever, porch. And you're wondering, when are they going to get done? 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. And you're like, man, you could have built this in a day. But you didn't have it in the contract specified. You didn't have that invoice signed, dated with everything parts list. You don't want them to make you pay $2,000 for the wood and the nails and all the brackets and the metal clips and everything that go along with it. And half of that was for another project, right? Probably overbid $1,000. And then now here you are funding another project. You got to be very careful of that. What I'm trying to define is run over. You don't want your job to run over. My mother-in-law had the same situation. Hired a guy she shouldn't have hired. Didn't listen to Jack. Paid up front. Kept asking for more money. The project, which should have took a week, drew into 2, 3, a month, 2 months, 3 months, ask for more money. Or they'll get you to a situation where you have to give them the money. Example, building a room. You know it's going to rain on Thursday. It's Monday. You know they're going really slow. And then all of a sudden he says on Wednesday, hey, I need some more money. This is costing more than I thought it was going to cost. And I need some more money or I can't work anymore. And you know it's going to rain on Thursday. And he hasn't tarped the roof. So if you don't give him the money on Wednesday, your house gets rained in. Or your building gets rained in, or whatever he's building gets rained on, and everything's out there. All the boards and nails and nail guns and everything involved, okay, is going to get rained on. He's got you over a barrel. Or gets halfway there, and you know you made the mistake of telling him that the property needs to close in 1 or 2 days, and he's got to complete this, and he's asking for more money, and he knows it's going to cost you more money to not close that property or whatever in the next 1 or 2 days than to pay him, and they've got you over a barrel. You've got to be prepared to navigate these type of situations. No handshakes. If it's not written, it doesn't matter. In real estate, if it's not written down in a contract and it is detailed and you have nothing. He said, she said, they said has lost people more money in real estate than I can shake a stick at. Don't let the contractor resource their own materials. Now, let me explain. I've mentioned before that sometimes you can be funding the build somewhere else where they're taking your materials and doing it over here, building somebody else's shower, somebody else's porch, and they just overbid you. Or they're taking scraps from another job, let's say tile from another bathroom job, and they're going to use it on your bathroom job, and maybe it got wet or there's something wrong with it, or let's say it's insulation and it had been wet, you just didn't know it because it's in the wall, and you can get subpar quality this way. You know, some contractors are going to counter back and be like, well, you know, there's going to be overage if I have to go to Home Depot because I had to stop the job and that took me 2 hours to go and get the materials. That's true, and you might run into that. What you can say is hey, sir, you're framing a room. How many 2x4s do you need? Have it written down. How many boxes of X, Y, and Z nails do you need? Have it written down. How many Go straight to Home Depot. Use your card. Have it on file. Get those materials exactly like they said. Put them there. Email him the invoice, show him all the stuff. Is this everything you need? Good to go. Go for it. And then you keep what's left over. That's how I would suggest doing it. Now, if it's a big project, it's going to be hard to do. Like, let's say it's a screen room, aluminum screen room. Let's say it's something big. But here's also what it'll do if you hire a plumber to plumb your house and it's copper and they rip all that copper out. Who's keeping the copper? Let's say it's $500 in scrap copper. Who's getting the $500 in scrap copper? You know, there's a lot of things to this. You just got to be aware of and just kind of, you know, think through it. Ask the contractor, does he keep his job site clean? My dad gave me the wisdom a long time ago that if you walk up on a job site and there's just lumber everywhere, it's a trip and fall hazard, there's nails spilling out, there's all kinds of things dangling down, wires that are not safe. That contractor is just not up to it. He's not good at his trade. He doesn't respect his job site. And as a former military officer, if I came out into the motor pool and I saw junk laying everywhere, I would be out there enforcing some type of safety standard. Because in the end, you're responsible for your own house. Somebody gets hurt. You're the one that's going to get drug into it, whether it was your fault or not. And having some contractor out there that doesn't respect the job site, there's a lot to that to me. I was watching one of my family members' houses one time, and the plumber walked up, and he was about to do a job. His pants were sagging down. He looked like he just got up, beard out to here, and he was wearing flip-flops, and he was going to work on the house. And right then and there, I wanted to tell him to get off the property. You're not going to go into that house with all those nails and underneath the house and flip-flops, okay? That is on me. Just like the other day when I looked up on a roof and a guy was wearing Crocs on top of the house, power washing the roof. If you're not showing up with the right apparel, the right clothing, the right equipment, you look like you just got out of bed, you look like you just smoked a meth pipe, I don't have time for you. Just my thought on that. Also, if the materials you ordered in this job, the materials he's bringing with him are molded or mildewed or water damaged or any of that, and they're going to put it in your house, stop it. Don't let them do it. And don't let them say, oh, it's just from the lumber yard. It's not that big of a deal. Bull crap. That mildew and mold is going into your house and it's going to stay in those walls and it's going to be sealed up in those walls and you're going to be breathing that. And I don't care what any of them say. I watch houses all over town go up, new builds that sit out in the rain all the time, and you can see the black on the wood from a distance, and you just know the mold and the mildew and everything because that house has been rained in, and all of a sudden they put a roof on it, they seal it up, and none of that ever got out of the house. Just think about that. The next thing to not tell them, don't tell them your budget. Don't talk numbers, okay? It should go like this. Hey, sir, I need you to build a partition wall. I need it done in 2 days. You can do it in 2 days? Cool. How much will that cost? Thank you. Can you write that down for me and email it to me? Thank you very much. That's about it, okay? And then you go ask another guy, hey man, how much to frame that wall right there? Okay, cool. Can you get done in 3 days? Well, I can get it done in 1, but it'll cost you X amount. Okay, cool. Can you email me that in writing? Begin date, end date. Thank you. And you get 2 or 3 of those, and then you decide. Don't go in there and just vomit of the mouth and be like, yeah, this is a hard money deal and I gotta get it done in 3 days or I'm in trouble. Now he's got you over a barrel. He knows he can, if he takes it longer, you're gonna pay up. And let's say we're talking about ones that are not above board. The honest guy, he's gonna get it. He's gonna be a great guy. It's gonna be smooth and easy to work with. Usually those guys are vetted and been around a while. That's why you need to know if they've been in business a while and maybe have some references. But you just got to be careful of telling them too much information. Same way in a real estate transaction. Everything you say can be used against you. Just remember that. And when that deal goes bad and you have to go to court and you get deposed, that's going to be used against you, whatever you said to that person. So be careful. Any financial numbers you tell them. Here's a story. Got a friend. She was flipping 3 houses. They were hard money. She knew that if she didn't get that thing done in, let's say, 2 months, that she was going to be financially bankrupt. Like she was playing a really dangerous game of tag the lender, okay? And that contractor knew that. And she went and bought all the materials sitting right there. And he knew that if that house wasn't completed in, let's say, a week, that she was going to go belly up. So he demanded 3 times as much money the closer it got to that date. And you know what? She lost those houses because she didn't have the money to give to him, but he was playing the leverage game. So be careful of what you tell these people, and off experience and personal experience and peer experience, this is how this stuff works out. Be very careful with what you do. The next one, never pay up front. Ever, 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 ever. Contractor fraud is awful. I have seen this happen to my mother-in-law time and time again. It's happened to my mother. You think these people are honest, you give them the money up front, and you never see them again. And if you even know who they are, some random LLC, and you sued them, you're not going to get nothing. I mean, it costs $5,000 to retain an attorney. So if it's sub that, like, what are you going to do? And so I always say, if it's a legit contractor, he can pay for his supplies up front, and he can do the work, and he can send you the invoice. And if they don't have that money to work with, and we're not talking about, something ginormous, like $100,000 job. We're talking about a very small job. You'll say a partition where the materials are $1,000 or $500. They do it, they send you the invoice, you pay it. Because if you don't pay it, they're just going to put a lien on your house, okay? So any businessman that can't front $1,000 to do a deal, I don't know what they're doing in their business. And this is business. There's many times as a real estate agent, I fund, the staging of a large house that might cost $5,000, $10,000. And I'm on the hook until you sell the house. This is business. I do understand, like maybe a deposit to hold the time slot or something like that, something small, reputable company done by credit card. There's a trace of it, who got it. There's email verification. Everything's on the up and up. But when it's just some guy pulling up in his old truck and he's saying he's going to do something and you give him $1,000 of $2,000 and you just think he's going to show back up and you never see him again, that's on you. Usually, if they have a license and they do this to stuff, they'll get pulled up on charges by the contractor board or whatever. If they have a legit license, a legit company, and insurance, and they're bonded, this will usually drive them out of business. Just the bad reputation. But if it's just a handyman, never do it. If it's just a sheetrock guy that just got out of jail with prison tattoos, bad idea. So just keep this in mind. Don't pay them up front unless you absolutely have to, or it's on the up and up, legit, and it's a very small amount. Be very careful with this. And if you don't know how to navigate that, have somebody speak in your stead. Your power of attorney, your son, your daughter, your real estate agent, however you want them to do it. But make sure that you do not give them any funding up front that they can skip with. Unless it's like a humongous company like, you know, one of the large roofing companies here in Pensacola. Sometimes they'll require a small deposit, hold the place so they can get the crew, get there, order the shingles, good to go. And it's usually like on a $20,000 roof, it might be like $500. Something like that, you know. But just be very wary on this type of stuff. Never tell them that you don't care who comes and goes. Make sure everybody on your property, you're watching like a hawk, okay? Make sure that everybody on your property, as part of that company, is licensed and insured, not some subcontractor that they just got. A lot of roofing companies do this. You'll think you hired, you know, XYZ Roofing. The nail gunners are actually subcontractors that just float around the town. Don't even know where they're from, don't even know what country they're from, don't know anything about them. And so if somebody stumbles and falls off the roof, which a lot of people fall off roofs, who's going to be responsible? If somebody's green egg gets stolen out of the backyard the next morning, who stole it? True story. Happened to my neighbor. I actually bought him another green egg because I felt bad for him because he loved it. And I think I filmed that on this video that the roofer stole the green egg. So just keep in mind, know who's coming and going. Don't say that I don't care, I'm not going to be around. Don't give them any more information. Don't say there's a safe in the back room. Don't say all these things. Just be careful of your security. Maybe even neutralize your house as much possible by getting rid of things that could go missing or things around your house that could go missing. I'm just giving you the word for advice. When you have 25 people coming and going in your house and in your front yard, you're going to have cigarette butts and random stuff all over the place, trash everywhere. Make sure they pick up after themselves. That's my thought on that. You know, in the end, you get fast, you get good, or you get low priced. It's really hard to get, you know, a different conglomeration of those three things. You get what you paid for. Sometimes it's better to overpay for a guy with a name that's respectful, shows up on time, does what he's supposed to do, completes it, it's got all his paperwork done. Pay the guy. My mother-in-law just had a job done, and I told her before she even did it, I was like, that guy is bad news. I can tell he's hitting the meth pipe because his teeth and his nose and his acne are bad. I was like, he's gonna skip, and nobody listens to Jack, and he did. You know, it was a terrible, terrible situation. The price was low to begin with. He failed every timing hit he was supposed to, asked for more money, and then skipped on the job, and we never saw the rest of it. The whole thing had to wind up being tore down and rebuilt by a good contractor, costing twice as much. It's hard to tell somebody that cheaper isn't always better. And if you can run the math in your head that between the materials and a decent hourly wage, and it doesn't add up, odds are this is not going to be a good idea. Just keep those things in mind. If you're going to hire a contractor, it is a very important decision. Don't just do it on a whim. But if I could leave you with this, make sure everything is in writing at all times. Make sure you're going down the timeline. Make sure you're checking in with that contractor. Make sure he's answering you. Make sure that everything you've done to protect yourself is there. You do not want to look back 3 years from now and there's an open permit on the property that you can't get closed out because now they're out of business or he's no longer licensed. Make sure everything that's permitted is closed. Check on your county site or call the county permitted office and make sure the permit they pulled, because you should have a copy of it, was closed out. Every permit that is pulled, make sure you have a copy of it with the permit number and make sure you're tracking all these things and make sure they're closed out. I'm doing a deal right now. House is supposed to close pretty soon and there's an open permit. And this is 3-4 years later. And it's coming back to haunt us that we've got to go in reverse and recreate this and say, okay, permit's closed out, we're good to go. Because if it's not closed out or permitted at all, things like an insurance company looks for the permit and there's no permit on that roof, they're going to treat it like it didn't exist. So know all the paperwork as best as possible. And if it needs a permit, get a permit. Don't have unpermitted stuff all over your house, because as a buyer looking in, it's a question mark. As an insurance investigator looking in on something that caught on fire, they're probably not going to pay you for. Just know these things before you get in a bind. And if you hire a contractor and it's a lot of money and he doesn't close these permits out, and then all of a sudden is demanding for twice the amount that you originally agreed upon, this can be a really sticky litigation problem. When you go to court, fight it, he said, she said, you need paperwork, you need time and money to fight, and sometimes the amount of money you're fighting over, you'll never see it back. So you don't want to go down the litigation route by not having good records. You want good records as much as possible. I just got out of a deal a few months ago where a contractor was stiffing my client, saying that he owed all this money for some work that he obviously didn't do. And we had the hardest time getting the certificate of occupancy back because of the open permits and the ongoing litigation. It almost took him a year to close the property because of all these problems that the contractor process started. Another one, if you are getting ready to sell your house and your timeline is crunched, be very careful with having contractors come in and blow out a kitchen or do massive amount of work. It's going to take much longer than you thought it was going to take. It's going to be much more expensive than you thought it was going to be. And sometimes it's better to just do your best, clean up as nice as possible, and move it on down the road. That's all I got on this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below from right, wrong, beginning, middle, end. I don't know, cats, dogs, do whatever. You know, fight down the bottom. Discord is good. That's how we learn. And I'll see you guys in the next video.